I'm Kyle from Southern Minnesota, and you're watching Takeover TV.
What is up, friends? Takeover peeps, random person coming across this video. However you got here, I'm so happy to have you. We are back with another weekly wrap-up. I'm on take 3 of this intro, but you don't actually know that. I'm going to post those bloopers on the Twitter page, because why not? I've got a new plant behind me in the background. Gives a nice little scenery. I'm not sure that will always live there, but it's nice there for now. I'll keep adding stuff, changing backgrounds, doing things like that. Maybe I'll put a green screen behind me eventually and see what kind of interesting things appear back there. We're in kind of a sports lull right now. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it a lull. It's just that like the NBA is getting closer to postseason. The most interesting things are seeing, Kevin Durant just played his first game as a Phoenix Sun the other night. But we're close to the postseason. We're just kind of seeing what teams get in. There might be some teams that are going to be shifting there, trying to make it the play-in little tourney game, whatever. But that's like the most interesting thing. Football, we're about to have the NFL scouting combine happen. But, we're a month away from the draft yet. We're over a month away from the draft yet. There's no games happening for a while, things like that. But we are still in the waiting for the dominoes to fall on the free agency pieces, because none of the quarterbacks we talked about last week, being Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson, have made a single move to tell us what they might be doing. There's always speculation and whatnot. I actually posed some of those questions on Twitter, and I want to look at those right now. You guys gave me some entertaining answers on some of that. I asked where you thought Lamar Jackson might land. And at Slowdomode on Twitter said he thinks that he stays in Baltimore, but he could go to Carolina or Seattle, just as a fun thought. And I thought about that a little bit. Those are two teams that aren't necessarily on the radar for the Lamar Jackson talk, but one of those teams really interested me. I would be very interested in seeing Lamar Jackson play in Seattle. Now, hear me out. I know that it went well for Geno last year, and Seattle looked better than Denver Broncos, which when they traded away Russell Wilson, did I think that Seattle was going to look better than Denver that year? No, but it kind of fell apart in Denver. Now, Seattle, though, they know going forward, as well as Geno Smith played, he's not a guy that they want to be their starter for year after year from here on out, right? Let's say Lamar Jackson went there. Let's just play with that. And obviously, I don't know what's actually on Lamar's radar. I don't know the salary cap space in Seattle, all of that stuff. But let's set that aside for a second and just talk about this. Imagine if he was there. A player with that kind of running ability, that threat with his legs, the ability to scramble in the pocket, to evade pass rushers, and then down the field, he's got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett waiting to receive the football. I mean, that's like what Baltimore fans, including myself, were dreaming of the whole time. Of course, we had Rashad Bateman, who got injured early in the season. We had Mark Andrews. But we never had a true 1-2 wide receiver punch. Imagine if he had Lockett and Metcalf to throw to. That was just very interesting to me. With Lamar, though, regardless of where he goes, as a fan of Lamar and a Baltimore Ravens full-on fan for ever since they came into the league when they switched from the Cleveland Browns, I just want to know what's happening. I have a hunch he's not going to stay, and that's a bummer and whatnot, but this is what it feels like. It feels like when you are seeing someone and you're on the verge of a breakup, and they say, we need to talk, but then that talk is scheduled from 24 to 48 hours from now. I'm like, can we just have this talk now and get it over with? Because I think I know where this is headed. I just want to know. Lamar, leave a comment on this video, Lamar, and just tell us. Just tell me, text me, something. The other question I posed on Twitter this week was if ever since Aaron Rodgers emerging from, his darkness retreat, if he actually came out with a decision. And you guys didn't give me solid answers, but you guys gave me humorous answers, and I enjoyed seeing your sense of humor play out in this. At Sydney and Barkley on Twitter said that he's staying with the Packers, and this was just all for funsies. And honestly, I like thinking about that one because I like enjoying thinking of Aaron Rodgers having a funsie. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers has ever had a funsie in his entire life. I mean, look at him. At Brian A. Bell 1980 on Twitter said that Aaron Rodgers saw his shadow and there will be 4 more weeks of taunting Green Bay fans. Let's talk about NBA for a second. Damian Lillard, Dalla Dame, D-Lil, whatever you want to call him. Great rapper, by the way. I'm honestly surprised with his little side action there as a rapper. Anyways, you know him. He's on an absolute tear lately. Dude is going off. I think it was 73 points he put up the other night. And not counting Tuesday night's game, the man has scored 40 plus points in 15 of his last 20 games. And the breakdown goes as follows. 9 40 plus point games, 3 50 plus point games, 2 60 plus point games, and 1 70 plus point game. That's nuts. He's on a tear. And I love seeing him still do it with the team that drafted him in 2012. That's really cool. Not a lot of players can say they stuck it out with the team that long. Next, we've got some sports card news. Topps held their industry conference in Arizona this week, and I had a few friends online go to it and attend it. I encourage you to check, actually one person right off the top of my head, my friend Ivan at Watch the Breaks on Twitter. You probably know him if you're in the sports card world. Go through his feed. He was having commentary on the event and then also communicating with people, going back and forth, talking about announcements that were made. And it was really interesting, and just looking at his Twitter feed is a great source of information about what came out of there. Secondly, sportscollectorsdaily.com wrote a piece on the event with their source there, and they released some info that I thought was really interesting that I want to share with you guys now. They announced that according to their source, Tom Brady will have cards in Bowman Draft Baseball this year, and some of those will be potential autos you can pull. Why in baseball, you ask? Well, Tom Brady was actually drafted out of high school to the Montreal Expos in 1995. Obviously, he didn't follow through with that, or we wouldn't have known him as NFL quarterback legend, the GOAT, Tom Brady, who wins all sorts of Super Bowls. But he was drafted, same way like Russell Wilson was drafted back in the day, I think, by the Texas Rangers, maybe? Anyways, so they're talking about putting Montreal Expos cards of Tom Brady in the product. I think that's really cool. They also announced that Bronny James, LeBron James' son, will have cards and potential autographs you can pull in the Topps Chrome All-American set, as he'll be playing in that All-American, McDonald's High School All-Star game coming up. Another notable thing that I'm a huge fan of is Topps is talking about having biodegradable wrappers for their packs of cards. And I think that's really cool because, maybe you're on the other side of the screen saying you don't care about that, but it does have an effect. It does make a lot of trash. I mean, if you've seen any breaker's room after they're done ripping a case, how many pack wrappers do you even have after you open a box? I mean, you've seen that if you've ever opened a box. Imagine these breakers opening case after case after case for hours. I think it's important to have this kind of thing in the sports card world. Biodegradable wrappers sound great if we can pull it off. Thank you again to sportscardcollectorsdaily.com for that info. Let's pivot to some video game news. Nintendo Switch released Metroid Prime, a remastered version of that, on the Nintendo Switch, and I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm sure that the graphics look outstanding. Because honestly, the graphics already look great on the GameCube version that I'm playing through currently, and I really enjoy the game. I'm playing through Metroid Prime right now, and I've got it right here. It's a really fun game to play. It's a little challenging. It's something that I pick up and I put back down constantly. Sometimes maybe this is just a conversation about my gaming skills, but sometimes the map is a little confusing for me and I can get lost. It's this really cool exploratory shooter though, where a lot of the gameplay, like yes, you're fighting aliens, things on this planet, and it is kind of that shooter experience, but it is based mostly around the exploratory, the learning about things like the flora of the planet and the insects and creatures there, more than it is about, the battles necessarily, or at least they're kind of on equal playing field. Because also the fun thing about it is the ending changes based on how much you've explored and learned. So if you're not, scanning things and getting that information, you are going to have one ending compared to another. I also wanted to talk about another cool thing on the Switch that's been out for a while now, but maybe we're not all, aware of it. The Nintendo 64 portion of the Switch released Goldeneye 64 on there, and I'm having so much fun playing through it. Once again, playing through the game is so much fun. Love that game. But it is hands down one of my most favorite games that I ever played, split screen or multiplayer. You know, if you were a kid back when that came out, there was nothing like having a sleepover with your friends, having the 4-screen split deal, you know, ordering Domino's maybe, and drinking soda or whatever, and having snacks and playing that and staying up way too late. Now you can play that with your friends online, which I'm having a lot of fun doing now that I'm in Florida and a lot of my friends are back home in Minneapolis. I get to play some of them in Goldeneye every once in a while. It's been a really cool experience, so check that out. All right, we're going to go into a new segment that I'm adding to the weekly wrap-ups as well called Stuff That Slaps, and I'm going to talk about the first one today. You know, stuff that slaps. Like, okay, are you wondering what does slap mean? You know, the stuff that like just makes you go, oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So that is what slaps. Okay, let's read an actual definition of slaps according to Google. All right, slap literally means to be excellent or amazing. So that's the stuff we're talking about today. Oftentimes I hear slaps in reference to music, but we're going to talk about anything that slaps on this channel because there's a lot of things that slap. This week's slapper is Disney's One Saturday Morning. I don't know how many of you grew up watching cartoons on Saturday mornings, but I'm going to bet it's a lot of us. Some of us were Nickelodeon kids, some were ABC kids, some might have been Fox kids, some might have been Disney. Disney's One Saturday Morning was on ABC, which was a big deal for me because I did not grow up having cable. My brother and I used to watch that. I remember eating breakfast, waking up, maybe having a donut or two if we ran to the bakery, and sitting back and watching this. I had so much fun. It has such a good memory imprinted for me that I go back and watch many of these shows. It brought us a lot of shows, and they switched out some over time, but notably it was shows like Pepper Ann, Recess, The Weekenders. There was a show called Lloyd in Space that had a short run I really liked. They also had That's So Raven, Even Stevens, Lizzie McGuire, stuff like that. It was great, and they would just put it in this thing, and then immediately after, NBA Inside Stuff happened, pretty much. But that's going to be for another Stuff That Slaps segment. But Saturday Morning was chock full of cool stuff, and it included Disney's One Saturday Morning. It unfortunately ended in 2002. It had a run from, I believe, 1997 to 2002. But if you have Disney Plus, you can go back and watch those shows like Recess and Pepper Ann and Teacher's Pet. That's another one. Oh, The Proud Family, please, slaps. Anyways, did you guys watch Disney's One Saturday Morning, or at least any of those shows? If you did, drop your favorite show from that, or just those list of shows that I stated in the comments, because I want to know. Last but not least, I've got some music suggestions for you. The first one I'm going to go with is a personal friend of mine. My friend Tommy has a project called Toilet Rats, who is on Steadfast Records, and they are releasing their debut album on the Friday. They have a lot of singles out right now, and they're really fun. They're kind of like, there's like touches of 80s goth rock stuff. There's fuzzy guitars. There's, you know, kind of shoegaze effects sometimes. It's dancey, but it's dark. It feels like you're dancing in your local goth nightclub. Really fun stuff, really good, really catchy. You can bop along to it, but it's got cool kind of dark wave elements as well. I encourage you to check out Toilet Rats. Tommy's just a super good musician all around. He's been in so many projects. He's done things with the lead singer of Motion City Soundtrack. We've done songs together. He's made so many other good bands over the years. Some local Minneapolis ones that were really good. Small Towns Burn a Little Slower, Naive Sense, lots of good stuff. My second suggestion is the artist Jacquees, who is one of my favorite R&B artists. Kind of drifts into the rap realm, but usually it's because he has guest appearances on there. He's got a beautiful voice, just smooth beats. I'm such a big R&B fan. I grew up on it, and he's just very, very talented. Dude has done, you know, he made a Christmas album, for goodness sakes. He dropped an album a few months ago called Sincerely For You. One of my favorite songs by him, though, is an older song called You that's got this nice water droplet effect going on with the beat as well. I encourage you to look that up. Honestly, just go to Jacquees' Spotify and just turn on shuffle. Let me know what you think. That's all I've got for this week, friends. Peace and love. See you next time.